So failure doesn't need to be painful. I found that one of the reasons it's so painful for people to experience failure is because they experience failure outside the context of growing. And so it's kind of interesting, like, when we fail at something, we're typically just horrified that we couldn't accomplish what we set out to do, that we couldn't succeed in what we wanted to succeed at. And in order to try and not fail ever again, we give ourselves a lot of emotional pain. We try and use our emotions as leverage to basically punish ourselves so that we won't ever do wrong again. Now, but the reason this also happens is because we lose sight of the bigger picture. If, let's say, for instance, you're learning how to bike. Let's say, for instance, when you first started, you were afraid to just get on the bike. But then by the time you're actually falling, then we forget that we are used to be just so afraid to just even get on the bike, or whatever the challenge was. Or maybe you couldn't even balance yourself. And so if we look at the context of growth and the progress that we've made since the beginning, then we'd be like, oh, this is actually really good. I used to fall immediately, and actually even before that, I used to be afraid of falling. But now, I'm actually not so afraid of falling. Actually, if anything, I'm actually eager to get on the bike, and I've been able to balance myself longer. I can balance myself from over there to over here, and and so I'm able to go longer, and so I'm way better. And so I guess I just need to be able to now find the balance so I can maintain this. And this way of thinking is actually good, and being able to say, it sounds like the reason I'm falling here is because I don't know how quite to paddle fast enough, or I'm realizing that I don't know, I'm afraid, so I'm hunching over, so I'm not straight. And so it's like within the context of growth, there's curiosity, there's actually exploration of what you're doing and what you're not doing. You actually ask feedback, you ask someone to look at you. There's no embarrassment, there's no shame. And the reason we give ourselves so much pain is because we don't want to fail on the eyes of other people. If we were just playing and we were having fun about learning something, then we forget about that. We forget about the social pain. And because of that, we can explore and we can genuinely be curious. And so we have learned as we grow older that failing oftentimes has social consequence for one reason or another. And so we've learned how to generalize that pain and bring it into every other area of learning. And that's actually a smart thing to do, to generalize. It saves time. You become a better learner. And when we started learning that maybe failure in certain areas is not so acceptable because it has impact on other people, then we learned how to bring that good learning into every other area, and we try to fail less. Now, ironically, of course, you need to fail more. You need to go through all the failures necessary, to learn something. So it's counterintuitive, but from a social perspective, it is more considerate because it can be more considerate to fail less for someone else who's standing by and waiting for us. And we oftentimes mix those two things. But if we remember that when we look at our failure within the context of growth, and that we remember that the reason failure is so painful is because it's due to consideration to other people, we can find a lot of peace with our failure. So hopefully, when you're experiencing a lot of fear with failure or pain with failure, or after the fact, and you're just berating yourself and feeling shame and embarrassment about it, then maybe actually just looking at the context of growth, of what you were trying to achieve, where you've been and where you're going in, and then bringing curiosity into what might be causing it, and then remembering the real pain is social of what other people might think of you. Or actually, which is actually interesting, or what you might think of yourself, you might find a lot of relief from that pain. Hopefully that you find it helpful, and happy journey. Thank you.